Welcome. Today we have another video, and today we've got a little bit of a different article. So we've got an expert here who is discussing some of the biggest factors that are going to affect 2024 in the real estate market. We're going to go through the factors that they've selected. We're going to see if we line up with them and where we might differ. My name is Carpino. I help first-time buyers and people looking to buy their second home and move up with their families in the Greater Toronto Area. We go over news articles, first-time home buyer tips, move-up buyer tips, and some tips for those parents just looking to move successfully with their families. So let's get into the article that we have here. Looking ahead, an expert's take on 2024 in the real estate market. Right at Home Realty President John Lusinick says the 6 key themes are likely to impact the GTA real estate market this year. As we go through these 6 key themes, we will go over 1, see where we line up. Go over 2, see where we line up. So let's get into it here. 2023 was a challenging year for real estate with a variety of factors that made buying, selling, renting, and investing in the GTA uncomfortable proposition for many. Now that the year is behind us, we are seeing an uptick in optimism as we move forward into 2024, and it's based on the promise of lower rates and the possibility of lower prices on the horizon. Folks are happy for a healthy, busy spring market, but we do have reason to be optimistic. Maybe. There are lots of factors shaping the market in the year ahead. Interest rates. We talk about this all the time on our channel. Let's see what he has to say. Borrowing rates will have a single greatest influence on the market performance moving forward. Economists are forecasting that the Bank of Canada could drop rates as early as April, but how much of a drop will it be, and what will it take to bring back confidence? Will it be 25 basis points, 50, 100? We won't be going back to these ultra low rates anytime soon, but everything that we're reading is pointing towards 4 possible rate cuts by the end of 2024, which is certainly promising, but it is not a guarantee. Rates have actually already started to drop a little bit, even without changes from Mr. McCallum. Fixed rates have dropped nearly 100 basis points. They're currently hovering in the low 5% range, and what's happening in the bond market right now suggests we might even see something in the high 4% range for the springtime. If it happens without the Bank of Canada doing anything, that could mean a boost in activity, add in a drop or 4 potentially in the overnight lending rate, and folks will start to get off the fence in earnest. Interest rates, we discuss them on the channel all the time, and I agree 100% with the assessment here. If the interest rates do get a little bit lower, buyers are going to see some confidence. As I've discussed in previous videos, I do think we'll see about 1% reduction in that variable rate. So I've suggested 4 quarter-point reductions. It could be any combination of, 50 and 225s, but I think I am right in line with what we will be at come next December 2024 at about a point reduction. The good thing is the bond market is definitely moving the fixed rates down. So if we don't see any flex in the variable side, at least it opens the door for people on that fixed rate side to have something a little bit more affordable. They still have to qualify with the stress test, but I think it's good news all around. Buyers do need to just be cautious that the rates aren't going to significantly fall off a cliff. They're not going to be back where we had them in previous years, which we've already discussed. Let's get into the second thing that's going to be a huge factor in 2024. 1 million Canadian mortgages are up for renewal. Holders of 5-year fixed products have been sitting pretty with their mortgages locked in at 2019 rates, while homeowners with variable rates have watched the horror as their monthly payments keep going higher and higher. But those with cushy terms coming to an end will be renewing at much higher rates, and this will come as a shock to so many households, especially those who stretch their budgets to buy a property in the first place. A lot of people are going to get hit hard, but does that mean there will suddenly be a whole bunch of new listings on the market? Maybe not. People keep predicting that a flood of forced sales, but that hasn't really happened yet. According to the Mortgage Brokers Association, defaults are pretty low in general, so the big flood of people may not actually happen. So mortgage renewals, we have also discussed this, and over the next 2 years, we do have a ton of mortgage renewals. I don't know if I'm on the same page as them here. I think that we actually might see a bigger issue than people are anticipating with mortgage renewals. I think a lot of people who are in that 2 to 3% fixed rate and are now going to jump up about 2% are going to have a big decision. Either they're going to upgrade their mortgage at a huge percentage, suffer, figure out how they can get around their day-to-day, or they're going to maybe be forced to sell and downsize their property or decrease what they actually have if they went and bought a big home to begin with and they didn't need to go that big. That's just my opinion. We have a little bit of a variance in our opinions here. So number 3, immigration is having a major impact. In 2023, the population grew to a record 1.2 million people. In 2023, the population grew by a record 1.2 million people. The federal immigration target for the year was 500,000, so that means more than half of the 1.2 million are non-permanent residents, which is international students, temporary workers, asylum claimers. They are not included in the target and aren't subject to any real restrictions or caps. But here's the thing, whether or not they plan to stay in Canada permanently, they all need a place to live. This influx is putting a huge pressure on the market, especially for rentals, which is the type of housing most immigrants choose, especially ones who aren't planning to stay and can't buy anyways because of the foreign buyers ban. This influx of people is exacerbating the housing crisis. Builders simply can't keep up with the demand, and it's impacting affordability. Steve Stareski of the Stareski Report talks about the situation in more detail, and his perspective is worth a read. We will leave a link to this article, so if you want to take a look at that report, by all means, click the article, click the highlighted section right here, and you can go over that report. So immigration, yes, absolutely has a big effect on the way housing is. The immigrants, they absolutely do go for a rental because of that limited time frame, so to speak. Are we going to stay here? Are we going back home? Where are we going to be long term? So rentals are necessary. And the rental market has had some issues over the last year. It's increased almost 20% year over year, which is a huge issue for anybody trying to get a rental property. And this is just an issue that's going to continue unless we see a halt in the immigration, because they are not building rentals that frequently. They're building more now than they were in the past, but it's still not enough to cover what is necessary. So let's take a look at number 4. Even motivated sellers aren't always that motivated. Yes, there are certainly ultra motivated sellers out there, typically the investors who need to cash out, but there aren't as many as you might think. We aren't seeing the fire sales, even the folks who are selling because they can no longer afford their mortgage payments. While some may be putting their homes on the market for that reason, they aren't doing so in a panic. From what we've seen, Right at Home Realty and Property.ca sellers are being patient and waiting for the right number to come along. The same thing goes for another group of homeowners who are divesting themselves of properties. Baby boomers, many have decided it's time to downsize, but generally they're willing to wait for the right price. I agree 100% with number 4. The issue is people who are under pressure to sell are still looking for prices closer to where they purchased their house, because they are at the moment selling for less than they bought for. So there comes a huge issue of equity. Did they put enough down? Is the house worth less than what they have invested in it? If that's the case, the incentive for you to move the property is so much lower, and you're going to maybe consider renting it out or just continuing to make those mortgage payments until the market changes a little bit. Knowing that we're kind of at that potential bottom of the market, selling now, especially if you bought recently, can be a hard pill to swallow and an unnecessary pill. Number 5, so life keeps getting more expensive. That is the truth. Inflation may be getting more under control right now, but prices are still high. Everything from food, clothing comes at a crazy price without the increase of income to match. And now Toronto homeowners are facing a, here you go, 10.5% property tax hike like we've discussed in the past, and possible municipal sales tax, which will erode affordability even further. And as life gets pricier, the labor market is getting tighter. Layoffs seem to be in the news every day. People are nervous about losing their jobs, or those who already have one won't be jumping into the market no matter what happens with the rates. That kind of uncertainty could temper the effect of lower rates. Everything is more expensive. I am on the same page here. It doesn't matter what you're looking at, whether it's food, clothing, gas, everything is more expensive. Your mortgage rates have not gotten any cheaper for people. And your salary, it's not like your employer has decided, let's give you more money because of these hard times. Your employer is now laying off more people and tightening the workforce. And because of all this, this is where I don't see the market just going crazy again. With all these buyers sitting on the sideline, so to speak, they're sitting there because everything is unaffordable, not just because it's housing. Even if housing got more affordable, they still have to pay these insane amounts for their groceries, clothing, all of these things that have gone up. Housing is not the only problem. even if housing was fixed, everything else is more expensive. So it's not going to line up perfectly, which I don't think the market is going to go crazy because of this. And into the last point here, new rules around bidding wars could change things slightly too. Last month, TRESA guidelines and the new potential impact for them was released. Sellers now have the option to reveal offers in a multiple offer situation, which could go two different ways. It could make the process easier, more transparent, avoiding the bigger price jumps that we've seen as a result of the bidding war, or it could drive prices even higher as the system turns buying and homes into something more akin to an auction. Where you would see this is in Australia typically. As for me, he's choosing to be cautiously optimistic about where 2024 is headed. Despite a chilly housing market headed into the new year, which we are definitely in, we are still facing a housing shortage. People want to buy. If the interest rates start coming down, demand will go up. Assuming rates drop enough, we could get a strong spring that exceeds 2023 sales figures. All right, so just to close this up here, we could see a strong spring. There's so many factors. It's not just the interest rates as we've discussed here. And the ruling on bidding war is very interesting. If you're a seller, do you want all 6 of your offers to know what those prices are, so you only have your winning offer beat the other 5 offers by a certain small amount? Or do you want to, at your choice, you can still go the old route and not have any prices divulged and have somebody really want your property and overbid and maybe take the property by 50 or 60 grand? I think a lot of sellers would still prefer to go that route because they want the most amount of money for their houses. This TRESA was brought out to make things more transparent, but I don't know if a lot of sellers are going to want to do that because it's in their best interest to get the most amount of money for their house. Let me know what you guys think about these 6 items. Do you line up with them as well? We mostly did. There are a couple things we differ on, but this has been another article from stories.com comparing 2 experts and what we think the market's going to look like in 2024. Regardless of what every news article out there says, if you're looking to buy a house, make the decision based on your current financial situation and don't believe everything you read on these articles because nobody really knows for sure what will happen in the future. Thank you so much for watching this video. My name is Carpino, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.